The City of Johannesburg is stepping up its efforts to help alleviate the shortage in student accommodation. The city has been engaging with institutions of higher learning. One of the plans is for rental fees charged for student accommodation to be kept at 3,500 per month, in line with the National Students Financial Aid Scheme allowance. Well, for more on these developments, we are joined in the studio by the Johannesburg's Development Planning MMC, Ruben Masango. Ruben, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Stan, and good morning to your viewers.
Yeah, my understanding is that while it is not really the mandate of the city to provide student accommodation, because of the challenges that have been highlighted, including by the HEFA Commission of Inquiry into affordability of cost of education and free education, you've decided to say, okay, we as a city can do something with this, and you've been currently engaging with the likes of UJ, VETS, and other institutions of higher learning. How is that process going? Are you confident you'll be able to do your bit in alleviating student accommodation?
Thank you so much, Dan. In fact, you just hit the nail in the head that we started with the premise that we are not role players in this space, but we can contribute as a City of Johannesburg. The City of Johannesburg, as you might know, that we have been getting bad buildings and renovating them, giving them to the private sector to redevelop with a shortage of accommodation. But then we realized that as the City of Johannesburg, it's a hub of for universities, TVET colleges, and other types of colleges. So we then say that because of almost about 500 of these bad buildings, why then don't we develop some of these buildings towards student accommodation at affordable rates? And we have already started, when we started this process, we are identifying a few of them. But working with the Johannesburg Property Company under my colleague MMC North, we have now able to identify proper buildings in the spaces where there is closer to the universities.
That will help in terms of transport as well,
Precisely.
if they are in close proximity with the thing. How many buildings have you identified that you are putting into this project?
They are all in a group, but for this particular last process that we have developed now, it's about 30 buildings that I can say that they have been there identified. But we are not only just identifying the buildings, but also the precincts, because we are engaged with the students, as we are saying, and the universities. We are thinking, is it necessary just for us to only have student accommodation or have a precinct where we just introduce students to the working life, because as well as we are wanting them to go through school, but they'll be going to working life. Can't we then have this phase that when they are in this precinct?
One would imagine that then your role will not just end in identifying the precincts or the buildings, but you should also have a say in how this accommodation should be done in order to meet the criteria of capping the accommodation at 3,500 a month.
In fact, with the Johannesburg Social Housing Company, which it's a company within the City of Johannesburg that deals with affordable, low-cost housing. So we also have a property that we have developed towards that space so that we can start and understand the industry better. And we're able then to monitor the other role players, as well as engaging with NSFAS and all other role players then, so to manage how the payments are done to this particular
beyond the payment, in monitoring, hopefully you're going to be making sure that from an occupational health and safety, these buildings are really done properly to make sure that you don't run into any kinds of problems in terms of risk and dangers. I'm saying this because recently we saw some buildings in Joburg catching fire. Yeah,
precisely. In fact, now as a City of Johannesburg, we're in the process of voluntarily looking to these buildings, whether they comply, which falls within my department, because what we have been saying as a city, want proper bylaw enforcement and compliances in many aspects. So we will be doing those things. And remember, some of these buildings were given to the private sector on a long-term lease. So the relationship is just not ending on identifying and handing over these properties.
And how have the institutions of higher learning been responding to your effort as a City of Joburg to assist them in resolving this problem?
We are very thankful to the engagement, not even only the executives of those institutions, but even the students' representative bodies that we've engaged with, experts in the industry, because students, we've also learned that student accommodation must also meet particular norms and standards. So we've engaged, and they've been frankly giving us information so that, as you can see with some of these documents that we have, some of the documents that are here, so this is a copy for you. So the documents that the tender documents, when we put them together, they talk to the specification that is required for a student accommodation. And this will also assist us, because as you know, around places of Brixton, where we have informal communes, when we have these proper buildings released properly, it allows us to have a proper building to accommodate students, which brings dignity to students as well, allows studies. And as a department which is zoning and other rights, it allows us to also, when we do our zoning and giving rights to those particular areas, it talks to say that this is a student precinct. What is it that is needed? We can't have a student precinct also with the taverns or some things that doesn't work with students. So this process
students need to study at night. If there's a tavern nearby, there's a noise and stuff like that. Okay, good luck. We'll try and keep track of this, what you are calling inclusive development.
Yes.
And trying to resolve the problem to provide affordable student accommodation. Thank you very much, Mr.
No, thank you so much.
That's the Johannesburg Development Planning MMC, Ruben Masango. Still coming.